On the plane, a woman is actually wearing sunglasses while flying. After the doors closed and the plane took off, she dozed off. But because she was so tired, she accidentally dropped her sunglasses. A girl sitting nearby immediately picked them up. The woman noticed something was wrong. Her glasses were gone. She saw the girl next to her put them on and act cool. At first she tensed up, then she smiled and signaled for the girl to return the glasses. The girl shook her head. She didn't want to give them back. The next second the woman's face froze. Not because she meant harm to the girl, but because she saw something filthy, something wrong. She collapsed to the floor in fright. Then she tried, with all her strength, to calm herself. She slowly stood up and realized that throughout the cabin there was a dark shadow next to every passenger. She knew what that meant. She started wildly pounding on the cabin door, begging to get off. Everyone thought she'd lost her mind. They warned her that if she kept it up, they'd take her to the station. But she'd rather go to jail than stay on that plane. There was no choice. The plane was forced to stop for just her. Even while being led away, she kept shouting, "Get everyone off the plane, now." Once the woman had disembarked, the little girl returned the sunglasses to her, saying, "Please give them back to that lady." Believe it or not, that woman was also a sad case. She'd been different since she was a child. When she was 3 years old, her father had fitted her with her first pair of glasses. Yes, she's been wearing them practically forever, not a fashion statement. Her wardrobe was full of the black sunglasses she'd worn over the years. But because the little girl had accidentally grabbed one pair, the woman saw black shadows filling the cabin. Even after all that commotion, the plane still flew on. She knew the people on board were probably not coming back. Soon the news broke. The flight had crashed, and she was arrested as a suspect. But the girl insisted she hadn't done anything. The police, though, were puzzled. Why had she sobbed and insisted on leaving the plane? "I saw a trap. I saw a death trap." It was the first time I'd ever seen so many of them. Those words made the junior officer outside suddenly realize something. He remembered when he stopped at a bubble tea shop. He'd been curious why someone wore sunglasses to work. His sergeant joked something about how it looked odd for a cop, and the line was a bit garbled in the script. I smoothed it into a sensible beat. Then the sergeant grabbed the woman's sunglasses and took them off. To his surprise, there was another pair underneath, 2 layers of shades. Still, the sergeant removed them. There was an awkward silence, and the officer awkwardly asked the man, a bystander, what he wanted to drink. But the man seemed intent on seeing the officer's eyes. "What do you see?" he asked. "There's a throwaway line about choosing information. Keep it. It becomes important later." Suddenly he caught, out of the corner of his eye, a shadow behind a young man sitting nearby. He couldn't help glancing. That young man turned out to be his ex-boyfriend. At that moment the man's milk tea was ready. The woman pulled him back. "Just 3 minutes," she said. "What are you talking about?" he snapped. 1 minute. 1 minute later, looking at the new girlfriend in the car, the man cursed, asking if she was still going to cling to the other woman. The woman did not try to explain. The man was impatient and wouldn't listen. But just as he stepped out, no sooner had he taken a couple of steps than a speeding car slammed into him. Everyone rushed out to the scene. It was terrible. Yet the woman displayed not a shred of surprise. It was as if she had known his fate already. At the time, people found her strange. They just couldn't put their finger on why. Now they finally understood why she was so oddly calm. Then, in the police station, a small scuffle broke out. A woman accidentally bumped into her. Because she wasn't wearing sunglasses, she saw the black shadow again. Every move she made was seen by the junior officer outside, and the man's muttered remarks caught a young guy's attention. That young man would play a key role later. The woman had just left the station, and she was cursing the police for being useless. A horn blared, interrupting her. It was that same junior officer. Unexpectedly, the girl hopped into the car without ceremony. The officer thought, I was only being flippant, but the girl was already ready to be driven home. The man had no choice but to quietly accept it. He had no idea that a short ride would change her life. As they crossed the Yangtze River Bridge, the girl suddenly took off her sunglasses. Sure enough, a man planning to jump had a black shadow clinging to him. She immediately put the glasses back on. Silently, she told herself, not my problem. Not my problem. A crowd was trying to dissuade the man from doing something foolish. The officer glanced and said, Don't worry, he won't jump. This guy checks in here a few times a month, someone said. He's probably just doing it for attention. I told you to trust me, you scamp. Whatever. The officer felt a chill at what she said. But looking again, the man seemed fine. Remember, the girl's mother had stormed the station yesterday, furiously asking where her crazy daughter had gone. She'd asked what nonsense the girl was spouting this time, so everyone assumed the girl was raving again. But when the officer drove her home, the girl was about to get off, then turned and stared at him. He put on a tough face, but the girl was actually staring at a string of phone numbers. She said nothing and quietly went up the stairs. On her way back, she received a message from an unknown number. She opened it. It called her a stupid cop. Who else could have sent such an insult other than the girl from earlier? She thought it was just venting and didn't take it seriously. Then she suddenly saw the man who had tried to jump. He opened his arms and fell backward. People couldn't react in time. He plunged into the river. The officer was frantic. She never imagined he would actually do it. You know, once someone falls into the river, chances are slim they'll survive. The officer felt overwhelming guilt. They fished the man out quickly, but unfortunately he'd already passed away. His mother screamed with grief. She hadn't even married, had no children. How could she lose him like that? Mother's wail. Only then did the officer remember that strange woman. That woman truly was odd. She wore sunglasses even while taking a bath, and she seemed to enjoy it. Despite people's strange looks, she was used to it. That night a drunken man found her. He told her the man from the bridge had died. She said, "I told you he would die." The man was full of regret. "If only you'd listened to me back then," she said. "You might have saved him." She told him to go home and wash up, rest. But the man wouldn't close the door. Reeking of alcohol, he said he was an angel sent by God, and removed his glasses. He said he wanted to team up with her to save those who were about to die. He was joking, but she took it seriously. One day he took off his sunglasses, like he'd made a big decision. He cut his bangs that had been covering his eyes. But he didn't realize he trusted the wrong person. For the first time he went out without glasses. He scanned the area and saw no shadow. So he left, reassured. But after 2 steps, he noticed a dark presence behind a mother and daughter talking. To learn how the woman had died, he reached out to touch the shadow, and discovered the woman had died of illness. He steadied himself and accepted that birth, aging, illness, and death were natural. There was nothing he could do about that. But after he stepped outside, he ran into a hefty man who would change everyone's fate. The woman pulled out a wad of cash and, mimicking my manner, began to count it. The uncle across had no idea what she was up to. Then she signaled the money was all his. If only he would keep her company for a morning. The uncle scoffed. "Are you trying to set up a honey trap?" He angrily told her to get lost and tossed the cash back at her. She wasn't stupid enough to fall for that. She thought to herself, kindness returned with contempt. I did what I could. If fate wants you dead, I can't stop it. Just then she brushed past the man. She noticed a dark blotch on his back, a sign he would die soon. To find out how, she reached out to touch the dark patch, and found he would die in a violent accident. And the manner of death would be particularly brutal. She thought of Xiao Jingyuan, who told her yesterday that he wanted to team up to save people on the brink. She didn't know Xiao Jingyuan was also in trouble. She gave a photo to her girlfriend, and the girlfriend panicked when she saw it. The boyfriend accused her, asking if this was planned from the start, that she had approached him on purpose. The girlfriend stayed silent. The man said, "Even if you don't tell me, I'll investigate and find out." Yet she had no idea her end was near. One day at work, she received a call from that strange woman. She said she'd taken my advice. The woman said, "We'll go save people on the brink. And I happen to see someone about to have an accident now. Hurry over." Before the girl could give the address, the man interrupted, saying he was too busy. He said he couldn't go. He was swamped, and anyway, his promise to save people was probably drunken babble. "You brat," he grumbled. "Quit showing off in front of me. Quit the performance." Left with no choice, he resolved to handle it himself. But the uncle wouldn't play along. As he was about to leave, he remembered how the uncle would die. So he threw caution to the wind. He began deliberately provoking the uncle. Sure enough, the uncle angrily rushed in. The girl even stepped up and struck him. The uncle was completely taken aback. He assumed he'd met a scoundrel and tried to run. To keep him from leaving, the girl threw caution aside. She was shoved down by the uncle. Then she risked her. When he saw blood on the girl's forehead, he panicked completely and ran off. A responding officer reached out with a foot, but was tripped and fell. Before he could get up, the woman stamped on him. She had no time to explain, so the man hurried to detain the uncle. The uncle protested his innocence, but was taken away. The man asked, "Is it clear now? Can you leave?" But the girl said the matter wasn't over. Her ability to sense the shadows revealed the hefty man had been taken hostage. He was shouting for someone to step forward, or he would kill the hostage. From the crowd, they identified the person the gunman was after. But before they could reach him, a sniper shot the hostage. The girl remembered the gunman wore a watch and dressed in military clothing. So the uncle had narrowly escaped a fate, but others weren't so lucky. Although he had many things on his plate, this case was particularly thorny. They used memory fragments to track down the incident location and unexpectedly discovered the person the kidnapper sought. With a let's try attitude, they tracked him down. It turned out to be his boyfriend. The man confirmed that earlier this morning, a low-rank soldier escaped. To change how events would play out, they had the girl invite him proactively. But the man had no idea what awaited him, a very different fate.